This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Yesterday, we reported that automakers in the U.S. haven't really raised prices that much due to U.S. tariffs. And then today we find out that Volkswagen is raising prices anywhere from 2.9 to 6.5%. The Jetta and Taos, which are made in Mexico, went up $1,000. The Golf GTI goes up by more than $2,000, while the Golf R goes up over $2,400. Even the Atlas crossover is going up by more than $1,100 despite being built in the U.S. because it gets its engine and other content from Mexico. VW sales in the U.S. are down by double digits so far this year, but there may be some help on the way for consumers. With the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates by 1/4 percentage point, interest rates on car loans should ease up a bit. China currently dominates global production of rare earth magnets, accounting for 70% of output last year. And when it restricts exports, like it did earlier this year in retaliation to President Trump's tariffs, it can really impact operations. And several automakers had to idle production because of low supplies. But now new sources are becoming available. Canadian company Neo Performance Materials opened Europe's first rare earth magnet plant in Estonia earlier today. The site will manufacture neodymium magnets and will initially produce 2,000 tons of magnets per year, with deliveries expected to start next year. The plant's capacity will then triple in 2027, which will be enough to support 1 million EVs a year. Neo has signed multiple 5 to 7 year contracts in the $50 to $100 million range. But the only company that we know for sure is the supplier Bosch, which has reserved a, quote, significant share of the plant's production. However, representatives from General Motors, Schaeffler, and Mala also attended the opening ceremony of the plant, so it's probably safe to say they're also customers. Recycling materials in the auto industry is nothing new, but Honda is taking it a step further. The company opened its new Resource Circularity Center in Ohio, which will recycle tools, equipment, and other items used in operations, including vehicle production. It will also recycle office electronics and vehicle service parts. In addition to recycling, Honda will study ways it can repurpose equipment and parts, including donating items to nonprofits. Honda says the center will help reduce reliance on new raw materials while reducing waste that would otherwise end up in a landfill. Another benefit that we'd also point out is that Honda doesn't have to write the recycled materials off its books, which will help its financials. For the first time in 3 years, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, has a permanent leader. The U.S. Senate voted in favor of appointing Jonathan Morrison to head up the division. Morrison was previously a lawyer at Apple and even worked as the chief counsel for NHTSA during President Trump's first term.
At CSP, we work with OEM engineers across the country on their journeys to lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly vehicles. Learn more at thecsp.com.
Several Tier 1 suppliers are turning to selling junk bonds to raise the capital that they need. American Axle, ZF, and Forvia are issuing bonds with high interest rates, and to us, it really says something because it means an American, a German, and a French supplier have to turn to junk bonds to fund their capital needs. That suggests they couldn't raise the money selling stock, or didn't have the credit ratings to sell standard investment grade bonds, or simply couldn't borrow the money from banks. And that, in a nutshell, describes the pressure that suppliers are under right now. And just so you know, the yields on these bonds are pretty good. ZF's have a 7.6% yield, Forvia's is 6.75%, while American Axle's is 6.5%. We're officially calling 2025 the year of autonomy because we're seeing so much activity in the segment and feel like we're at an inflection point. And here's an example of a fairly new startup that's getting some very healthy funding. Wave, which was founded in 2017, raised $1 billion last year, plus a private investment from Uber, and now NVIDIA has signed a letter of intent to pour $500 million into the company. What makes Wave's tech a little unique is that it uses camera sensors and machine learning to teach its system rather than relying on digital maps or coding. And not surprisingly, it uses chips from NVIDIA. Nissan also formed a partnership with Wave and will use its tech for the next-gen LiDAR-based version of its hands-free driving system, which is scheduled to come out in 2027. And in other autonomous news, public transportation riders in a city of Arizona will now have access to Waymo vehicles. Waymo signed a partnership with Via Transportation, a tech company that uses software to help optimize public transportation networks. So, now anyone that uses Via's software can integrate Waymo into their available fleet, and the city of Chandler, Arizona is the first to try it out. While Via has services in hundreds of cities and 30 countries, any expansion between the two would be limited to where Waymo operates, which currently sits at 5 cities. We've always heard that Level 4 autonomous cars are really hard to do, but the head of autonomous driving for XPeng says that doing Level 4 cars is actually easier than Level 2 because of the human driver. She says that in many Level 2 situations, drivers want to take control of the car, and that intervention drives up complexity. Interestingly, XPeng is taking a similar approach to Tesla, eliminating LiDAR from its AV stack and relying mostly on cameras. XPeng's AV head says it's training its AI system with videos that are only 10 to 30 seconds long, and she says that its AI system can't use data from LiDAR. She also notes that their AV stack does not rely on HD maps. And that's a wrap for today's show. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you have a great weekend.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Alex Partners, when it really matters. CSP, the Composites Solution Partner. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering, boost your game. And thanks to the following YouTube and Patreon members.
We help businesses respond decisively to their most critical challenges, from urgent performance improvement to enterprise-wide transformation. We work across the full value chain, in automotive and in industrials, helping clients navigate disruption, drive innovation, and unlock sustainable growth. Alex Partners, when it really matters.
Developing today's vehicles. Issues can happen in an instant. When's the best time to solve a problem? The minute you know you have one. Meet Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your secure, off-the-shelf solution empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
Wards is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details, and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.